Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be partly presenting the session with you today, joined by Duncan as well, who will be on hand from a payroll perspective. Today, we're looking at posting your salary journals using the Nominal Link. So we're setting up that integration piece between Sage 50 Payroll and Sage 50 Accounts to essentially automatically post your salary information across to your accounts. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, just before we get started with the webinar though, a little bit of housekeeping. So you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one and you've enabled it, you'll find that you're muted automatically, so you can't actually speak to us today, but you will be able to submit your questions. Now, to submit a question, all you need to do is click on the toolbar on the right-hand side. You've got a little icon that looks like a speech bubble containing a question mark. If you give that a click, it'll expand that panel, and the box in the bottom right-hand corner is where you can start entering any questions or comments you have. So we're joined today by Calvin as well, who's also a 50 payroll expert. So he'll be on hand in the background answering any questions that you might have. So either might be an actual answer to your question, it might be a link where there's detailed information available for you, available from our help center, or if it's quite complex query, we might suggest that you get in touch with our support team. So do bear in mind, we've got loads of you joining us today, so we may not get a chance to answer all of your questions. There are a couple of handouts, a couple of versions of the handouts available for today's session, which you can also download. So on there, it'll give you the information, the slides that we're using for today's session. Please bear in mind that all of the detailed information is available from our help center. So if you want that step-by-step guide, do check that information out. Really easy to access the help center, of course. If you want to switch to full screen mode as well, you may find that helps just to see the screens a little bit clearer. You've got an option for that one on your toolbar as well. Now that questions panel as well will be available throughout the session. We'll open up to questions at the end, and we'll try and pick up some of those questions that you've submitted in advance as well. So when you registered for the session, you would have had the opportunity to enter any questions that you had at that point. So we'll try and pick some of those up as well. Right, let's take a look at what we're going to be covering. So a little bit of an introduction to salary journals and the Nominal Link. So I'll be covering that bit. We'll then be handing across to Duncan, who will take you through the setting up of the Nominal Link. So entering your actual nominal settings in Sage 50 Payroll. And then he'll be giving you an example of what it looks like to actually post the Nominal Link. So looking at posting the salary journals into Sage Accounts. It'll then be passed back to myself, who will look at it from a 50 accounts perspective, so you can see the journals that are being posted by that Nominal Link. And then once we've done that, we'll just explain more about the additional support that's available to you, and also we'll hang around for any questions as well. After today's session, so around about an hour after we finish, you will receive a follow-up email. That will include a number of links, so you'll be able to register for future webinars and also catch up on recordings. So if you've missed any sessions for either payroll or accounts, it'll include the links that you require. So watch out for that one. Right, now I'm going to run a little poll just before we get started with the session today. So I'll pop that on screen. Quick question for you. Which software do you personally use? So I'm not on about your company, I'm on about you personally. Do you use Sage 50 Payroll only? Do you use Sage 50 Accounts only? Or do you use both of those software? So Sage 50 Payroll and Sage 50 Accounts. So if you don't mind popping a vote in there, choose an option. And then I'll just wait till we get a decent percentage of you having voted, just to give us a little bit of an idea of the background of everyone that's here today. So I'll just give that about another few seconds and we'll close it up. I'll share the results with you as well in just a moment. Right, excellent. So we've got about 85% of you having voted there. So let's have a look at those results just so you can see them. There they go. Right, okay, so we've got about 10% of you using Sage 50 Payroll only. Just short of that, Sage 50 Accounts only, and about 82% of you Sage 50 Payroll and Sage 50 Accounts. So nice and easy for those of you that maybe use both software. You might have a few more queries if you use one but not the other. Right, let's hide that we'll get stuck into the webinar itself. Right, so let's start with a little bit of background, a little bit of an introduction to just salary journals, and then we'll move on to the Nominal Link itself. So for those of you that actually use the accounting side of the software, what you'll be doing on a regular basis, normally each pay period, is that you'll be entering some salary journals just to represent the salaries that you pay out or the wages that you pay out, and you want to represent that in your accounts. Now, traditionally that will be done as a journal. So you probably sit there and key it in manually within Nominal and journals. So you'd be debiting your profit and loss codes to establish those debit balances, those expenses that will build up over the course of the financial year. And you'll be also posting some credits as well. So for things like the net pay that your auto employees, the national insurance, the pay as you earn, you'll be crediting your balance sheet. So establishing those liabilities. What you'll then do at some point is when you pay those liabilities, so you pay your employees, you pay the national insurance, you pay the pay as you earn, you'll be posting bank payments to those liability nominal codes to essentially zero them down. So you've got your expense that will build up over the financial year, whereas your liabilities, you'll pop them on there as part of your journal, and then you will be essentially paying them off, assuming you're paying them off in full. Now, as I mentioned, historically, that would have been done as a manual journal. And that's what we're trying to essentially avoid having to do as part of the webinar today. So that's where the Nominal Link comes in. So Nominal Link is essentially setting up an integration link between your Sage 50 payroll software and your account software to essentially transfer that information automatically into your accounts. So you're not having to, if you do the payroll only, you're not having to print reports and pass that to someone that does accounts. And if you're the accounts person, you're not having to sit there waiting for some information from your payroll colleague so that you can form a journal and then post that in. It's just going to do it automatically. So there is a setup process, and Duncan will be running through that with you in just a couple of minutes' time. And just before we do that, I want to cover a little bit about what you'll need to do to prepare. So there is some information that you will need before you actually can set up your Nominal Link. One is you'll need a Sage Accounts logon. It will require that when you set up the Nominal Link, so that essentially your payroll software can log into your account software during that Nominal Link process. So it logs in behind the scenes and it will post that information for you. Now, if it's yourself that does both accounts and payroll, then what's commonly recommended from the account software is maybe to set up an additional logon so that you can stay logged into your accounting software while you post the Nominal Link. So almost you're setting up a logon specifically for the Nominal Link itself. Now, it's nice and easy to set up a logon name if you don't know how to do it. We'll cover that one in a second. You need to know the location of your company file, which is nice and straightforward. There is information in our help center. But when we're talking about the company file is what tells Sage 50 accounts where the accounts data is held. So you need to know the location of that file so that payroll then knows where to paste or where to post the information to. And you'll also need a list of nominal codes as well. Now, a lot of them will be pre-populated for you when you set up the Nominal Link, and we'll see that when Duncan demonstrates that in a moment. But others, you may need to refer back to your accounts, or if you don't have access to the accounts, you may need to speak to the person that does, just so you can get a list of nominal codes that you will use. Now, just quickly setting up a logon. I'm going to quickly demonstrate that one just before we pass across to Duncan and he'll run through the Nominal Link. So let me just quickly share my screen. Now, to set up a logon, you will need to be logged in as manager. Or these days, you can also set up as an administrator. But to set up a logon, we're just going to go into settings and then down to user management and then choose users. Now, all we then need to do, so let's say Duncan uses both accounts and payroll. So it means that Duncan might have Sage 50 accounts open, but for the nominal link purposes, let's say we want him to be able to have payroll open and post the nominal link at the same time. So what we could do is copy that one. So highlight him, click copy, just leave it exactly the same, just continue through, give it a new username. So we're just going to say Duncan, we'll say NL for nominal link, and we'll pop a password in there as well. Just continue through. So it's exactly the same settings. That means that we've essentially Duncan's then got 2 logons that he can use. Meaning that otherwise, when you come to post a nominal link, it would ask you to prompt you saying that the username is already in use if you use the same logon. Right, let's just close out of that one. So that's the basic setup. Now, as far as the link to your company file, the location of your company file, it's version dependent. To check your version, all you will need to do in Sage Accounts is go to Help and then About. It will give you this screen, and what you're after is essentially it's going to be your data directory. So what we're looking for is this path here. So in my case, it's going to be C, Program Data, Sage Accounts. Because I'm on version 29, it'll tell you a version number at the top. This is just this path here. That's what I'm after. That's where my company file is going to be held. But again, that information is in the Help Center and it will guide you through. In fact, it will actually list, depending on your version, where your company file is. And that's the information you'll need. Right, okay. Let's pop back to the slides. And we're now going to look at setting up the nominal link. And this is where I'm going to pass you across to Duncan.
Thank you very much, Michael. So you've seen there some of the information that you will need when it comes to setting up the nominal link, and assuming you've got all that information to hand, you're then ready to get going and enter your nominal settings. So that's what I'm going to take you through, and I'm just going to outline the 4 steps that we're going to take. So first of all, in our nominal settings, we're going to specify the location of our posting. So you can either post directly to Sage Accounts software, or if you're not using Sage for your accounts, you can post to File in order to generate a report showing all the salary journals that you would then need to enter into your other accounts package. We're going to browse to the company file and select our Sage Accounts company. We're then going to enter some default nominal codes that we want to make our postings to, and if required, and if we want to analyze the payroll information in a bit more detail, we can set up overrides, and I'll explain what they are as we go through the demo. So let me just bring the slides down, and you'll see that I'm already logged into my payroll program. Now, to access the nominal settings, I just go to the company tasks here on the left-hand side, and then from that list of tasks, I can click here onto nominal settings. So this screen is split into 3 tabs. You have the defaults tab, where we choose our destination, and we have some override settings. We then have the P&L analysis tab, where we're going to enter our profit and loss nominal codes for the various payroll categories. And the other tab is the balance sheet analysis tab, where we enter the nominal codes for those liabilities, things like net wages, PAYE, etc. So starting here on the defaults, in this demo, I'm actually going to post directly to Sage 50 accounts. So I have selected that from the drop-down, but you can see there are other options for Sage 200, for TASBooks, or File. And a recent addition is there is an option for Sage Business Cloud Accounting, which will allow you to set up and use the nominal link to export a file that you can then import into Sage Business Cloud Accounting. That's our browser-based accounting package. So we're going to stick with Sage 50 accounts, and what we then need to do is to locate our company file. So this will be on your local PC, assuming that you have Sage accounts installed on this PC, even if your data is held on a server. And to find it, you would click onto Browse, and then you would just browse to your C drive, Program Data folder, into the Sage folder, and then into Accounts. The next folder is specific to your version. Because I'm using version 29, the folder is 2023. And then it is this company file, which will contain all of the data paths to my data. So ignore these folders, it's the file that we're after that we select and then click open. So what you'll see there is that I'm prompted to log in. So it's trying to log me into the first company within my accounts. So this is where you'll need to enter a logon name and password that is not already logged in. So I'm just going to use my usual logon name. And if you do have multiple companies set up, you can open this drop-down list and you can choose the specific company that you want to post this payroll into. So I'm going to stick with Sage Webinar Demo. Now the next option is to use default nominal codes. So if you are using a standard layout of accounts in your Sage accounts, this gives you a good starting point and it will pre-populate some of the common categories. And then there's a setting just underneath which allows you to set up overrides by department or cost center. So if you group your employees into departments and cost centers and you want to use different nominal settings for a specific department or cost center, you can choose an override option from here. And we're going to stick by departments for today's demo. One other option to point out on the defaults tab is to clear posting history. So if you've previously used the nominal link and then stopped using it, and you want to begin again posting nominal links moving forward, by clearing the posting history, it just means that you won't be prompted to post any of those periods that you did manually in between the last time you used it. So it removes the history of the nominal link from your payroll package. Now, when it comes to entering the nominal codes, you can see there's nothing entered at the moment. So I'm going to start by using the default codes because I am using a standard layout of accounts in my Sage 50. I'm going to click yes to overwrite anything that was previously entered, which in my case was nothing. And then if we start with the P&L analysis categories, you can see that it has populated some of these for us. Now, ideally, you want to be entering an account's nominal code for every one of these profit and loss categories. But if there's a category that you know you never use, so for example, I never charge an attachments admin fee, you could leave it blank as that would not be used by the nominal link. But keep in mind that in the future, if I did start charging an admin fee for attachments and I posted the nominal link without a nominal code being entered, it would create a misposting, which I would need to sort out later down the line. Now, what we can then do is we can check that we're happy with the nominal code that's been entered against each category. And because we've signed into accounts, we can use the drop down to actually choose the nominal code from a list. Now, I have got a few gaps, and most of these relate to statutory payments, so adoption pay, shared parental pay, for example. And I'm actually going to post all of the statutory payment journals to the same nominal code, which in my case will be 7011. So I'm just running down and entering this manually, although I could choose this category from the list. And for statutory sick pay, I do have a separate nominal code for that one, which is 7010. So I've got statutory parental payments and statutory sick pay. So those are all of the default P&L codes entered. I'll then move on to the balance sheet codes. So you can see, again, we have some gaps. And the first one to address is attachment of earnings. So I do have an employee with an attachment, and I do have a code in mind that I'm going to use for this. But this code doesn't already exist in my accounts. So if I open the drop down here, I want to use 2240 for this particular posting, but it doesn't already exist. So what we can do if we need to is create new nominal codes within accounts by clicking onto new. So I'm going to use 2240. And there is a warning here telling you to ensure that that nominal code is within your chart of accounts for your Sage 50 company. But if I then click OK, that has actually created the nominal record in accounts, which I'm now going to use to post my attachments liabilities. Now, holiday fund is something that I never use, so I'm going to leave that one blank. But I may have employees with postgraduate or student loans, and I've decided for this one to post them to the same nominal code that I post PAYE. So in this case, it would be 2210. So this is most of the default information entered, But what you can also do with Nominal Link is you can post a journal for the bank payment of net wages. So if you want the Nominal Link to record that as well, simply select the bank account that you pay the wages from. And as part of the Nominal Link wizard, you'll be prompted to post that as well as the salary journals themselves. So that's a very basic setup where we've entered default nominal codes for each of the profit and loss categories. But I said I would come back to overrides because this is something that will allow you a lot more flexibility with the journal that is posted, and it allows you to give a greater analysis of your payroll information when it lands in accounts. So all of the override options are found towards the bottom of these tabs. So first of all, I want to mention payments overrides. So currently, all payments will be posted as a debit to nominal code 7000. But if there are specific pay elements that I want to post to a different nominal code, this is where the override could come in. So I'm going to click on payments override, and if I open the drop down, I can see the different pay elements that I've set up. And in this case, I actually want to post my commission payments to a different nominal code to the other payments. So I've selected it here. What I can then do is I can specify the relevant nominal code. And I've actually got one here for sales commissions. Now, you're not restricted to posting to P&L codes within your chart of accounts. You could, if you needed to, post a payment to a balance sheet code. So an example might be if you are reimbursing expenses, that could get posted to some kind of either a bank account or an employee control account on the balance sheet. So you have got the freedom of choosing any nominal code that you would like the posting to go to. But in this case, I'm going to stick to commission, which I think is in the direct expenses area of my accounts. It's the same principle for other pay elements. So for deductions, if you've got a specific deduction that you want posting to a different nominal code to the default deductions, they can be set up as an override here. So by default, it's going to 7000. We can specify other codes for specific deductions. The employer's pension could be posted to a different area based on the pension scheme by setting up a pension override. And the employer NI associated with specific payments can also be posted to different areas of your accounts, and it works out the proportion of the overall payment assigned to the pay element, and then the national insurance related to that will get posted to the overridden code. So I'm trying to keep things relatively simple, so I've just set up the one payments override for my commissions. Now, as well as overriding by pay element, you also have these departmental overrides, or if you selected cost center from this drop down, it would be a cost center override. And this allows you to create a completely separate set of nominal settings for any employee that is assigned to a department. So a quick look at how this works. If I click on departmental override, I've got 3 departments that I've set up. And the one that I want to override is my directors department. I want to post their information to slightly different nominal codes. So I've selected the department and I will click edit. And you'll see then we've got the department nominal settings for payroll department 1, and we can go ahead and start filling these in with alternative nominal codes. So I'll pick one for directors' salaries for my payments, and I'm also going to override the directors' national insurance, as I do have a specific code for that. Now, you will note that there's also an accounts department column, and that could be used to post the journal to a specific department in your accounts. So if you also wanted to include the department in the postings, you would use departmental overrides, and you would put the accounts department reference in the column next to the nominal code that you've entered. There we go, just here. And you can even set up additional overrides within the departmental overrides if you needed to. So that's our profit and loss code set up. A couple of overrides there for you as well. We'll move on to the balance sheet. So you can override different attachment types to different codes. If you've set up different loans for your employees, they can be overridden. And the one I'm going to use in this instance is a pensions override. because I have different pension schemes, I do want to post the contributions to different balance sheet accounts, just so that I know how much is owed to each of my pension providers. So if I click into Pensions Override, you can see the different pensions that I've set up. So I'm going to do an override for the Aviva pension. And rather than putting it to my main pension fund nominal code, I'm actually going to create a new one. I'm going to call this one Pension Aviva. And you can see, because it didn't already exist, it's created it in my accounts data, and that will then post the pension liabilities to the relevant nominal account. So as your Nominal Link settings, quick tip at this point, once you've entered the settings, if you want an easy way to check them, especially if you've entered a number of overrides, you can print out your Nominal Link settings using this print option down here. So if I just click OK to save them, I'll show you what the printout looks like. So it looks like something like this, where it shows you all of your default nominal codes. It's a good way for scanning for any categories that you might have missed. Just making sure that it is a category that you're not using. And then we've got the overrides that I've just set up for commissions and for my directors department. And then we've got the balance sheet codes and that one balance sheet override, as well as my bank payment nominal code. So quite a handy way to check the settings all in one place without having to go in and out of the nominal settings in the program. So that is now set up. Let's just recap those steps. So we went into the nominal settings and we chose our posting destination, which in our case was Sage 50 accounts. We've browsed to our company file, which was held locally, but contained the data path to our accounts data. And we selected the company we want to post to. We entered the default nominal codes. So we started by using defaults and we filled in any gaps. And as you saw there, I've set up a few overrides, and you can read more about the overrides by following the link on the handout. So it is now time to post the nominal link. So this is where we're going to post all of this information directly into our accounts. There's a certain order you need to do this in. So first of all, you will need to update records for the period that you want to post. And ideally set your process date or keep your process date set to the date you want to post. You'll then run the Nominal Link wizard, which will create all of the journals. It'll give you an option to print them or send them to Excel if you want to check them first. And if you're happy with everything in the wizard, when you complete it, you'll be prompted to log in. And that's when the postings will happen and the information will go into your accounts. So that's a 3 steps overview. Let's have a look at that in action. So because it's the first time I've posted the Nominal Link, I am going to be asked for a starting point. So I've gone to my payroll tasks. And if you have set your criteria to exclude anyone that has left, it's an idea not to do that when you're posting the Nominal Link, or at least to post a Nominal Link before you make anyone a leaver, because they need to be in view to be included in the Nominal Link. So my current year leavers are all in view. I've got everyone selected as they would be at the end of a pay run, and I'm going to use this Nominal Link option from the payroll tasks. So this takes us into the wizard, and the very first time you use it, you'll be asked for a starting point for your Nominal Link postings. And once you've selected this, you will then be prompted to post each period chronologically from that point onwards. So I'm actually going to start at the beginning of my financial year. So it's my January journals that I want to post in, so January 2023. It'll then confirm the employees that will be included in the posting. So I've just got the 5 employees in this case. And then we can enter some transaction details. So up to 8 digits for a transaction reference. I'm just going to enter the word wages, and you can set the transaction date, which I'm just going to stick with the employee's pay date or our process date. You then have the option to group your transactions, and this will be selected by default. And it just means that totals for each nominal category will be posted rather than individual journals relating to each individual employee. If you prefer ungrouped information, you can clear this box, but keep in mind you could end up with hundreds even thousands of transactions, depending on the size of your payroll, being posted if it's ungrouped. So we are going to stick with them being grouped. And then on the next page, it's going to show us the information that is about to be posted. So especially if you're doing this for the first time, it's a good idea to have a scan through to make sure that everything does have a nominal code and that the numbers look like what you're expecting here. So just to pull a few of these information out, you can see the Aviva pension has been separated to that overridden nominal code. I've also got some commission payments that have been overridden. I've got the rest of the gross pay going to 7,000, although for my directors, they will be posted to 7,001. So it's reading the settings and it's working out which journals need to be posted. And if you have any statutory payments that you're recovering, it also deals with the recovery as well. So it posts the full amount of the statutory payment, but then it will offset that against the amounts recovered, which also reduces your NI liability. So from here, you can print the report if you want to check it first. I'm then going to move on to my next step, which will be used for the bank payment posting. So bank payment wages, I'm going to call that one. You can see that's just a simple journal between net wages and the bank account. And if I click finish, this is where I am prompted to log in. So remember, I need to use a login that isn't already logged in elsewhere. So I'm just going to use my own username there. And we can see that Nominal Link has now finished posting the transactions. And that information will now be in the transactions area of Sage 50 accounts, as Michael will be showing you shortly. So that's a Nominal Link posted for my January pay date. And what you would tend to do is just run the Nominal Link at the end of your payroll process. Now, I am doing a bit of catch up, so I'm posting from the start of my financial year. So if I go back into the Nominal Link wizard, you'll see that it's informing me that I have incomplete postings for my next pay date, the 28th of February. So this is what I mean about you need to do each period consecutively in chronological order. You can't just skip ahead to a later period without either posting to file or clearing the posting history altogether. So you can see that would then take me through the Nominal Link wizard, exactly what you saw before with our next transaction date. And you could repeat that process until you're up to date, and then that becomes part of your payroll process. Once you've updated the records, at the end of your payroll process, you can do the Nominal Link. So I'm just going to cancel out at that point. Quick recap of the 3 steps. So update the records for the period you're trying to post, run the Nominal Link wizard, print the report if you want to, and then log in to Sage accounts, which will actually do the postings. So with that, I'm going to bring Michael back, and he's going to show you what happened to those journals and how to find them in the accounts package. So back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Duncan. Right, okay, we're going to have a quick look at Sage 50 accounts at this stage, just to clarify what's actually happened, and also that final step of what it looks like when you come to need to make your payment. So let me just share my screen. There we go. So you should see my Sage 50 accounts at this point. And what we're going to do first of all is just pop into the transactions list. Now, what we've purposely done for the purpose of this demo is we've just posted the Nominal Link across to a blank company. So you can see all the journals that have been posted automatically by Sage Payroll by using the Nominal Link. So imagine from an accounts point of view, having to sit and key that in every time. Possibility of a mistake here and there as well. So it avoids that, and obviously it's a nice slick process once it's set up. So those are the transactions. As you can see, we've got loads of journal credits and journal debits on there. So generally, credits would go to your balance sheet codes and debits across to your profit and loss codes. Now that's not cast in stone because it can depend on what you're obviously posting. If we have a look at the nominal codes themselves, so again, because it's a blank company, you can see the impact that this has had. So we can see our current account, we've now got a credit balance on there because it's automatically paid the wages. We've got a PAYE liability on there, the national insurance liability, liabilities for pension deductions. and also things like attachments as well. The expenses, obviously, you would just expect those to build up and accumulate over the period, over the course of your financial year within your accounts. Now, when the time comes to actually make your payment, and bear in mind when Duncan demonstrated the nominal link and the setup of that, there was an option to post your payment for your net wages automatically. But it doesn't do that for pay-as-you-earn or national insurance. So you would still need to record that manually within your account. And it's easy enough to do that. You can see we've got two credit balances there at the moment, indicating we've got a liability against each of them. And when we're ready to make that payment, or you may have an agreement or a direct debit set up to make that payment. To record that in your accounts, all you need to do, go into bank accounts, choose the payments option, so bank payment, and then we're just going to enter the information. So we'll just use today's date. Reference, we'll just say HMRC. You can pop in an extra reference, pop in your first nominal code. So we're going to use the PAYE nominal code. I'll ignore most of the columns in this because we just want basic information. I'll put PAYE in the details. We'll pop in the value. And obviously the payment of PAYE doesn't attract VAT, fortunately. So we want to make sure we've got the non-vatable tax code in account selected for that one, so T9. And then what we do is we just tab down to a second line. Now what you want to make sure, so that it will just show us one payment when it comes to your bank reconciliation, is you want the same information. So you want essentially the PAYE and the national insurance entered consecutively on the same screen, same bank account, so 1200, same date, and also the same reference. So that's how grouping works within your accounts, based on those, in this case, the three fields: the bank account, the date, and the reference. Pop in the national insurance nominal code. I'll just put NI in the details, and then I'll put the other value in the net. And again, make sure you use your non-vatable tax code. So we're ready to save it at that point. So just click Save, close out. Obviously the bank balance would have gone down by the combined value of those two transactions. If we pop back to nominal codes now, you can see that both the PAYE liability that we had against 2210 and the NI liability against 2211, they've now disappeared. We've paid those off. And that completes really completes the demo for today's session. Now we are going to pick up some questions as well. So if you do have any questions for us, and I can see Calvin and also we've been joined by Jackie as well, you've been picking the questions up in the background. So if you've got any questions for us today, all you need to do on your toolbar is you've got that little icon, the one that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark. If you give that a click, it'll expand your panel. You'll have the box in the bottom right-hand corner. You can start typing your comments in there. Now, I do have some where people have submitted a question. So we're going to start with some of those in just a moment. But we'll also try and obviously pick up the ones that you key in as well. So if you have already submitted a question to us, I'm going to try, myself and Duncan are going to try and work through some of those with you. So we might run the odd little extra example here and there. So just bear with us. Now, in about an hour's time, you will receive a follow-up email. It will include a number of links. So if you are wanting to attend any other webinars, either for 50 accounts or 50 payroll, or maybe using one of the business cloud products as well, then webinars are available. Just head along to sage.co.uk/webinars, and you'll be able to get yourself registered for any upcoming sessions via the 50 accounts and 50 payroll links as well. You will be able to access recordings of previous sessions, and we'll make the recording of this session available by the time you get that follow-up email. So watch out for that one. So coming back to questions, so we're going to start with some of the ones that people had asked as part of the registration process. I'm going to start with Linda's question. So Linda, I think I can see you on the list there, so you're in attendance today. So we'll pick that one up first. So Linda asked, as part of the registration, would I need access to both Sage Payroll and the accounts? So we sort of half covered that one in this session today. You don't necessarily need access to both payroll and accounts. However, to successfully post the nominal link, if you're just a payroll user, you will need a logon to the accounting software. You don't necessarily have to have both payroll and accounts installed on the same PC. So there's information in our help center on how to set that one up. Next question came from Anne. Anne's question was, and I think this is one for Duncan, this one, we use departments. Let's have a look at that one. Yeah, we use departments for each of our employees, as well as nominal codes. Is it also possible to link departments? So posting to different nominal codes and splitting totals by department. Is that something you can have eyes on, Duncan? I think it's something you half covered in the demonstration today.
You certainly can, yes. This is where a departmental override would come into play. So I'll remind you where that was within the nominal settings. So if you go into your nominal settings, and you will be prompted to sign in each time you do this, and often you will need to sign in twice. From your P&L analysis tab, you find the departmental overrides. So if you wanted all of your transactions to also be posted to a department in accounts, based on the department the employee is in payroll, you would need to set up your departmental overrides for each department, but you would also complete the accounts department column. So even if it's the same nominal codes that you want to use, you just want it to post to a different department, you would in effect create a nominal setting for each department. So you would complete the nominal code column, but you would also complete the accounts department column. And that way, it'll post your nominal link for each department, having the department reference included in the transaction. So yes, you can post to the departments if you've got your employees organized into departments, and you do that via a departmental override. Hope that helps.
Right, next question. I think this is probably one for myself, from Louise. Louise was asking, my Sage 50 accounting data is held on a server. Please, could you explain how to link? Well, when you set up the nominal link, as Duncan demonstrated, if you basically need to specify where the Sage 50 accounts company file is. Now, the Sage 50 accounts company file is what instructs Sage 50 accounts where your data is held. Now, if you've got Sage 50 accounts installed on your PC, all you're doing is you're browsing to that company file to basically tell the nominal link where to look for the accounting data, so where to integrate with. So you can still do that. If you don't have accounting accounts installed on your PC, then there is specific instructions available within our help center on how to get around that. We'll see if we can get someone to pop a link for you as well for that one, Louise, into the chat box for you. Another question was Yobami. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right there. Question was, on our Sage accounts at the bottom taskbar, it shows April 2022. Why is this, please? Well, it just refers to your financial year there. So in your case, it would mean that your financial year begins April 2022 and runs up to the end of March 2023. So you've just gone beyond the end of your financial year in accounting. Now, that's absolutely fine. Just continue processing as normal. You go back to run your year end in your accounts as and when you're ready. It's unlike payroll where you need to complete your year end before you start processing again. So on accounts, continue as normal. You go back to run your year end as and when you're ready. There is a webinar scheduled for that one. So if you are interested, again, watch out for your follow-up email and get yourself registered for one of those live sessions. Question from Mary Francis. And I think this one's back to you, Duncan. Salary sacrifice and big healthcare through payroll. Unsure of the journals. Is there anything you can advise on that one?
Yes, I can help with this one. So if you payroll your benefits in kind, so if you put a healthcare BIC through your payroll, you're effectively processing a notional payment. So that payment isn't actually made to the employee, but it does attract a tax liability. So obviously their tax goes up, but their net pay doesn't, because they're receiving a benefit in kind rather than the payment itself. So in terms of the nominal link, the payment part, the notional payment, is effectively ignored. Doesn't get posted to your accounts at all, as it's not a real payment. It's not paid to the employee. But the increased tax liability, so the tax liability that the benefit in kind attracts, is included in the pay as you earn that's posted to the balance sheet. So you'll see an increased tax amount, exactly what you would see on the payslip as well, but you wouldn't see a posting for the benefit in kind amount, because that's not physically being made to the employee. In terms of salary sacrifice, if it's a salary sacrifice deduction that you've set up, for example, cycle to work, it's quite a common one, that would be posted to your deductions nominal code. So that's an instance where you might consider setting up a deductions override, if you want that to be posted to a specific code in your accounts for whatever the salary sacrifice is being used for. And if it's a salary sacrifice pension, the amount sacrificed by the employee is included in the pensions liability posting. So that goes to whichever nominal code you've set up on the balance sheet analysis for pensions. So I hope that helps to explain with salary sacrifice and payrolled BICs.
Excellent. Okay, another question from Susan. I think this one's back to me. Partly links in with the nominal link as well. And the question is, we don't use the general Sage codes. So I'm assuming by that you're referring to the nominal codes in Sage 50 accounts. So we don't use the general Sage codes. Would we need to change these each time there is a new version of the software? So from an accounts perspective, obviously your codes aren't going to change as part of any upgrade. And as part of a payroll upgrade as well, unless you were creating a new company or something along those lines, again, your nominal link settings should be retained each time you install and update your software. So nothing to worry about there, Susan. You specify your nominal codes that you need to. Another question, this time from, I think it's Bansai. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right as well. With regard to the nominal link postings, so the transactions that are being posted across the Sage accounts, can these be edited once posted in Sage 50 accounts? The simple answer to that one is you are restricted as to what you can edit as part of a nominal link posting. If I just share my screen again, if I can find the right option, there we go. So you should be able to see my screen at that point. If we pop into the transactions list and we highlight part of, or just one line of the journal. So when the nominal link posts, it will post to Sage 50 accounts as part of what you would term an SDO link, so a Sage Data Objects link. And transactions posted across to Sage accounts in that way, you can't fully amend. So by that, I mean, if I edit or highlight a journal or what part of the journal and click edit, you've got the restricted edit option. So with the restricted edit option on the journal, you can only edit really the text-based fields. So the reference, the description, and if we go into edit the item line detail, you can also amend the details itself. So it's those text-based fields. The others would be classed as being what you would term a critical field in Sage accounts, and you can't amend those. So depending on what the changes that you need to make, it may be necessary to manually reverse the journal. You may restore a backup in Sage accounts. You may even just need to post an adjustment. It really depends on the actual scenario and what the change is. If you want to find out more about journals, there is a recorded webinar on correcting journals in the 50 accounts recording, so do check that one out if you get the chance. I think the final question we've got there is from Peter. Peter, I think you're on the list there. You're still present, yeah? So Peter, we're not going to miss your question. Peter's question was, I pay expenses through Payroll, but Nominal Link posts expense costs to payroll P&L codes instead of employee creditor codes. So again, this one's over to you, Duncan. So can that be done?
Yes, it can be done. So you would use most likely a payments override for this. So I think we briefly touched upon it in the demo earlier, but if I just remind you where it was. So in the P&L analysis area, payments in general will be posted to your default nominal code here, but you can create a payments override. And I previously set one up for commission, but for expenses, if you're reimbursing an employee's expenses, it depends how you've recorded that expense in your accounts. So if you've done a journal to a creditor's account, a control account in the nominal list, you could post the reimbursement of that expenses to that code. Or if you've set the employee up as a bank account and you've posted the expense to that, again, you could put the bank account nominal code in here. So you don't have to use something in the P&L range of your chart of accounts. You could use, as I say, a balance sheet code. So you might have a short-term liability for employee expenses. You'll have posted a journal, I would imagine, which would have left it with a credit balance, and the nominal link posting the reimbursement of those expenses would post a debit to clear that liability. So yes, payments override is where you would go for this, and feel free, if you need to use a balance sheet code in this instance. Hope that helps.
Right, okay, that just about covers the questions that we did have submitted for those of you that are present today. And I think we've got one final question that we'll try and get someone to pick that one up just before we end that. I think Calvin's just picking that up, great. But let me quickly take the opportunity for myself, Duncan, and Calvin, and Jackie, who was on earlier, just to thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it and you found it useful, giving you a little bit of a more insight into the workings of CH50 accounts and CH50 payroll and how you can integrate the two, and hopefully that will be a good time saver for some of you. If you do have any feedback, be a little survey pop up as you leave today. If you could take a minute just to pop some comments on there and give us a rating for the webinar today, that would be greatly appreciated. You'll also receive a follow-up email later today. So around about 1 hour's time, it will include links so that you can register for future webinars, and also so you can watch recordings as well. Once again, many thanks, take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some future sessions. Many thanks.